One time, many cultures were led by shamans who had an incredibly deep understanding of symbolism because, of course, they became unconsciously conscious or conscious within the unconscious. That is a real shaman, someone who wakes up within. And symbolism being the language of the universe, they actually understand symbolism. And many of them were great artists. Poetry, very powerful as well. The ancient Celts had the same word for poetry that they had for magic. And the old definition for magic was actually that which comes out from the unconsciousness into the conscious realm, which is pulled out to effect a change in the conscious realm. So, yes, they had the same word for poetry because poetry comes from the unconsciousness into the conscious realm and affects it. Okay. Language is very important, and I have an issue with using the left side of the brain too much to communicate with. It limits us. We are symbolically illiterate, and it's used against us by those who really understand how to use symbolism. And I'll go into this in a moment. It's very important to have a clear understanding. I believe in speaking very simply and very directly. People who speak in complex terms either don't understand the subject that they're talking about, or they're trying to maintain a power over their audience by keeping them confused, or they're trying to feel big and important by confusing people. And that's all ego and BS, and it's important to have a clear communication. I often describe language as a vessel to get across a cargo. That leaves my port and goes to yours. And I can build a fantastic vessel. Sometimes I can. And you may be so taken by the vessel that you miss the cargo. And then, send the vessel back to me and miss the cargo. Sometimes, it's like when people are listening to what's being said, but they're not really listening to where the person's coming from. And they miss, what's behind it. It's like not reading between the lines, listening to the words but not listening to, the real meaning. In the same way, people look at things in a kind of surface materialistic way, and they miss the deeper value, what it's saying. I mean, if you can take a dream where all kinds of weird things happen to you, you're on the run from some kind of monster or something, and you can say, wow, that was a sensational dream, really wild, but then you're missing what the dream's trying to tell you, because your spirit is speaking to your unconscious mind using the symbols, which are, like I say, the language of the universe, to try to communicate with you. Now, everything is symbolic. Words are symbolic. If I say blue, how do you know what I'm talking about? You know that there's a color, and I'm referring to that color by saying blue. So, I mean, words are sounds or that are written symbols, but they are plain text. Words, numbers, and HTML codes are very left side of the brain, and they're really distracting away from the right side of the brain clear understanding of the universe. They really limit your understanding, and education system forcing you to focus on these small little things weakens your mind. It distances you from the universal understanding, and that is a real shame. Taking symbols and taking it a little bit too far. Now, of course, one symbol by itself, it doesn't necessarily mean anything specific. Every symbol kind of means different things and is interpreted different by different people. So no one symbol has any one universal meaning. If I say blue, how do you know what I mean? Am I referring to the color blue? Am I referring to blues and feeling blue, kind of down, or something else? Blue can actually mean something erotic for some reason. I don't understand that myself. To me, it's not an erotic color. It's a spiritual color, and yes, it can refer to the Virgin Mary and things like that. So if I say blue, how do you know what I mean? I put it in a sentence, and you understand. And it works the same way with symbolism. One symbol by itself could mean almost anything, but you put different symbols together and then you can look at it, and in the same way it kind of forms a sentence, it forms a statement, and then you can understand it. By being symbolically illiterate, you're being told all these things that you're getting on the inside, unconsciously, you're not getting consciously, and that's a big problem. And so, to an extent, yes, symbols need to be put together sometimes to form a cohesive statement. And however, it can't be taken too far. I think with the English language, we need to distance ourselves from it a little bit and get more into the pure symbolic understanding. Now, a symbol alters your consciousness because it's energy. Everything is energy. Everything physical and mental is energy. So a symbol is an embodiment of energy, a form of energy. For you to perceive a symbol means that you have to be connected to a symbol, to the energy. So the moment you take in a symbol, it has already altered your consciousness in some way. But to what extent, it depends on you, it depends on a lot of things, and it depends on your self-awareness and your understanding of the symbolism. How, and where are you? How aware are you of the symbols that you're being given? A symbol can also connect you to a state of mind specifically, like a red rose. If someone understands that you once gave a red rose to someone that you loved and then they died, and someone wanted to be cruel, they might send you a red rose, and that could really hurt you because it triggers that memory, right? People do play weird games like that sometimes. The manipulators in the world do that stuff. So anyway, yes, symbols can be a state of mind, a state of consciousness, and when symbols are used in that way, that's usually manipulation. Someone's trying to manipulate you rather than to communicate something to you. And it's a matter of ice crystals, how symbols are actually created through nature, and through positive and negative energy. This is kind of arguable in the scientific establishment, but you can actually create positive or negative looking ice crystals by focusing positive or negative energy on that. I'm going to have links on these subjects in the sidebar here. Yes, a friend of mine once had a dream that she had a room that was black and white, and all of a sudden she realized that she could color it. I thought that was such a beautiful dream, obviously telling her that there's this part of her that has been dark and empty and barren of life and energy, and now she's in a place in her life where she can fill it with life. Very obvious symbol, and for people who are left side of the brain, they could miss that. It's so important to understand these things. Think of the difference between an inspired sanctuary with beautiful exotic plants and shrubs, and then imagine an institutional ground, lots of cement, fence all around it, closed off. What is the feeling, the difference in the feeling you get? How does that alter your consciousness? And what is it telling you, about how you're supposed to think in this place? One is telling you to be free, to be strong, to be brilliant, and the other is telling you to be closed-minded and to be manipulated, right? And that is the difference. In the media, it's a one-way conversation. If they know how to talk to you, and you don't know how to interpret and how to defend yourself, you don't have to. You understand what's being said to you and how it affects you. You're automatically defended, but if you don't understand what's being used against you, presidential campaigns, for example, use symbolism. Stars are very powerful because they represent the order of the heavens, and so it's a very powerful symbol. Of course, it's in the stars and stripes, but it's a very powerful symbol used. And I have a link. It's very interesting. It goes into the symbolism used in the presidential campaigns. Barack Obama, a lot of symbolism being used around him to refer to him as a biblical figure. And Jesus, sometimes there's a picture, and there's one link I have that shows a light around him, which represents illumination, which is a positive thing. Of course, it represents enlightenment, So, they're trying to build him up as a biblical, spiritual, powerful figure that you're just supposed to trust and believe in. But that's manipulation, right? They're trying to force you to look at him in a certain way. If you can understand these symbols and how they're being used, then you can see through it. Otherwise, you'll be manipulated. And plain and simple. It's like buying a product and not knowing why you bought it. So anyway, that's all I have time to go into at this point. I'll be going into a lot more detail in the future. on the subject of